Hi, thanks for listening to the Monthly Social here on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. All right, hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Take care. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monthly Social Music Spotlight. I am your host, Guido Perino, and thank you for being here as we ride from Prince Edward Island, Canada, to Nashville, USA, with rising country music star who some say if there's a beach, you'd want him playing there. The multi-award winning Ben Chase. Ben, thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's so nice. Just for folks, as we were talking, and I kind of introduced all these, you know, places, PEI and Nashville, and you're on the road right now, right?
Yep, I'm traveling right now. We just played in BC last weekend. Now we're just in Ontario for a few days, and then we're off to PEI. Actually, we're playing at a festival called Cavendish Beach Music Festival on July 5th. So we're crossing the country, literally, and getting all those air miles in.
That's beautiful. Air Miles. There we go. Canada, Air
Yep,
Miles.
for sure.
So look, so you're from PEI, but you also spent some time in Alberta, and I think right now your home base is Nashville. And I always like to get a bit of a sense of geography into the show and give our guests a chance to tell about their experiences. Um, being home, PEI home, um, was it hard leaving PEI, or what do you remember about that?
Not really. I've known I want to do music like my whole life, and kind of right out of high school, I went to college for about 2 months, and I dropped out. It's like I want to do music, man. So I was still 18 at the time, and I booked a flight across the country to move to Edmonton. I knew one guy in the music industry. Didn't know anything about it, didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I just knew I wasn't happy when I was in college. I was like, I got to do this. So I booked a flight and hopped on a jet, and my parents are a little concerned being from a small town stuff, but it's all starting to work out. But it's crazy, you know. I was actually just telling a friend the story the other day. I moved out there and I did 2 months in college, and I had a student loan, and just started doing it, and I left, and I was in Alberta. I was 18. I was never been in a casino before in my life, and my roommate at the time said, "Do you want to go to the casino?" I was like, "Not really, because I'm broke. Just quit college." And I went in there with the $20 bill. I put it in that machine, and I didn't know what I was doing, and I hit a jackpot, and it was $5,800, the exact amount as my student loan, which is just like the total sign that I was like meant to do that move. It was like a confirmation from above, It was really cool.
So did you pay the student loan?
I did actually.
Did
Luckily,
you
I've
ever
only
think
had
though, maybe I should do something else with it? Or you're like, no, man, I'm getting rid of the loan.
I thought about partying for sure, but yeah, I definitely got rid of that and made it easier for me to like focus full time with music. I just back then I used to just fish lobster back in the East Coast 10 weeks a year, and then I'd be out pursuing music in Alberta for the rest of the year, my earlier days, and yeah, it was a lot of back and forth
So
across the country.
you're a lobster fisherman too.
Our whole community where I'm from, it actually is like I mean, there's other jobs, but like the
Yeah.
industry, like the economy, all revolves around the lobster fishing industry. Actually,
Is it so? I watch these shows sometimes where they have the boats and they go out and they set the traps. And is it as cool like as pulling in those traps over the side of the boat and you got all these lobsters sitting in the cages? Or is that just sensationalized? Like I'm
well,
talking.
the deadliest catch and stuff, they definitely make things like a bit, more television-y, but like
Yeah.
it's cool. Like I think if anybody goes out for the first time, but when it's a job, you're out there, you're pulling in 250, 300 traps a day. And it's just like, it gets pretty repetitive. The lobsters all look the same. It's the same bait that goes on every trap, and you're out there for about 10 hours a day. So it can get pretty repetitive, but it's a cool experience if you do it for your first time for sure.
Okay, okay. Do you eat lobster when you're out there?
Oh, that's all I eat when I'm out there. Nothing more.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so look, I digress. I got into lobster and fishing here.
It's all
So
good.
you moved to Alberta for music?
Yeah, strictly just to take on, move out there, and a bit of like a really well-known country music scene out there, right? So I thought it'd be a good place for me to kind of cut my teeth a bit and learn from kind of some of the best around. So went out there and started there, and then yeah, I when I turned 21, I wanted to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
So I applied for my visa, just got it approved, and then the pandemic hit. So then they canceled all of our work visas. I was supposed to move April 1st, and everything got canceled around
Right.
March. So I moved back to PEI actually and spent 2 months actually official officer again, and went back, and just because there's no music, no shows. and wrote songs on the island for about a year and a half and spent more time with the ocean and then jetted down to Nashville after that. So
Okay, so you get to Nashville. Um, what do you think? Like once you hit Nashville, like is it another holy jumping? I'm in Nashville, or do you
yeah,
get homesick at all? Or
you know what? It's actually like where I live in Nashville now is actually kind of closer like to home. It's not as like I gotta fly across the whole country when I go home. Like I just take a little 1 hour flight to Pearson from Nashville. It's really close, right?
yeah,
And then just a jumper plane out to the East Coast. It's actually closer. Like honestly, it's nice to know that like if for any reason I had to like leave on a
yeah.
dime and flights are expensive, it's only like a 24-hour drive. Like I could, jet it in the morning and make it in 2 days. So it's actually closer to home than so I do actually, yeah, I'm really happy in Nashville. I love it there, but Alberta definitely has a special place in my heart. I go out there a lot and play shows, so kind of where
That's
I get
wild.
my
Like when
gigs.
people listen to that, and if they're not from Canada, just the size of our country.
Yeah,
Right?
like
Like when you say I can get to PEI faster from Nashville than I can from Calgary.
yep. This year, for example, we have a show. Well, we had a show um on July 5th, we had a show, and then on July 6th, we played in Calgary. July 5th was in PEI. So
Wow.
played in PEI, got on a plane direct flight length is I think 5 hours and 20 minutes in the air. So that's how, and that's two shows in Canada. And I always get a kick out of people in Nashville when they're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm actually from Canada. They're like, oh, do you know so and so from Vancouver? I'm like, no, like that's if you're talking miles, like 4,000 miles away from me. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's true. They think it's a lot
Seriously.
smaller, right?
Hmm.
Um, Look, okay, so we've got you on your steel horse and your eagle riding, you're all settled in. Um, and you talked about, look, I wanted to leave PEI, I wanted to pursue the music. What got you into country music when you were back in PEI?
That's a very like different kind of like lifestyle out there in a good way. Like we grew up again in a community. We're not ranchers or anything, but we're well, saltwater cowboys. We grew up, on the ocean, but it's a whole different kind of country. We're all country kids. They don't wear like boots and hats and stuff, but everybody out there is like very country and their own kind of country.
Yeah.
So what do we listen to? We listen to George Jones, we listen to Merle Haggard, we listen to all these guys. And I was schooled on like Joe Diffie and Shenandoah as a kid. Like George Jones, I still say today is my favorite country artist of all time. And so just like growing up there, I always loved country music. It's still to this date, I don't listen to anything that isn't country, and I make a living in country. So like I listen to my friends, and like that's what I listen to driving around. Some of my friends are established artists, and it's all I listen to. It's all I've ever known to like. And so as a writer now, I love like when I write a song, I'm like, oh, I would listen to this. It's good because I'm like, but it's kind of why I got into it. There's a lot of great musicians out there. Because the tourism aspect of PEI,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like what we would call like Kayleys, where tourists go into these little halls and they would, play for a bunch of tourists and tell stories and entertain them and do that. And I did that as a kid. Like I was on stage since I was like 3 years old. So always like loved being a performer, but because I like country, I really want to sing country and do country and write country, and now that's what I'm doing.
You're doing country. Look, that sounds really special, and it sounds very home special. And you had a special moment on stage that I'd like to ask you about. You brought your grandfather out to perform.
Yep, I
Um,
sure did. Yeah.
why'd you do that? And what did that moment mean to you? And I guess to both of you.
That's probably still in the state, the highlight of my career, just personal and family. I
Yeah.
grew up in such a like again, small town and typical country music singer thing, um but like my grandpa and I have a really special relationship. He again, when I say I played these Kayleys at like 3 years old, this was my grandpa who played in a band which would bring me on stage, all the time. Like I couldn't sing worth a crap, but he would bring me on stage and teach. And he gave me that. He gave me like the gift of music and taught me how to be an entertainer. And he when he grew up, there was no TikTok and Instagram. So I swear to this day, if that was around when my grandpa, he's a stud, he can perform like crazy. When he was, a young stud in his prime, he would have been a star, but there was no opportunity for that from back in the day in PEI where leaving the island was a big deal. So, um, just I've always wanted to find a cool special way to give back to him for that, for like, teaching me. And, I'm not where I want to be yet in my career, but I had a cool opportunity open for
Yeah,
Sam Hunt at the Calgary Stampede, which there's 10,000 people there.
yeah.
And I just said, I went to PEI before. I said, look, I'd love to fly you out and bring you on stage just to give you the feeling of what it's like to sing in front of 10,000 people, because he plays every weekend still. He's 82, plays every weekend, for his same, like, 100 friends
Bless
at,
him.
at the Legion. But I wanted to give him the opportunity because he's still great. Like, he gets up there and he's rocking out. He kicked the rock and like he's very able for his age. It's actually really impressive. And
Yeah.
so he flew across the country and the crowd went absolutely crazy. It was awesome. It was definitely my mom and dad flew up with him, helped him get on the plane and stuff and watch it all go down. And yeah, just to see 10,000 20-year-old kids screaming their lungs out for an 80-year-old man was something I'll never forget.
I saw him kicking that rocking chair, and I was like, man, I wouldn't want to be the rocking chair. He's
Yeah,
got gumption there.
yeah.
Would you say that I guess he has most greatly influenced your country music journey then?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I always say my end goal is I want to play the opera and have him in the crowd. That's like that would be the coolest full circle moment. That's one of my biggest goals in my career, and I'm gonna keep working for that.
Shout out to Grandpa.
Yeah.
Um, do you have a favorite country music artist, Ben?
I would say George Jones, yeah,
Yeah.
because my grandpa literally was the biggest George Jones fan. There's like it's funny because when I first moved to Nashville, actually I played in a lot of cover bands, and I would actually end up in all these bands with guys and they're like 40s and 50s who were like around the George Jones era who play all that stuff because I knew all the songs. They're like, wow, this young kid like knows all these old country songs. We need to keep him. So it's funny how that worked. But yeah, definitely like was a big George Jones guy and Travis Tritt and yeah, now into the newer stuff, I'm more of like a Kenny Chesney fan and
Yeah.
in that world. But
So the George Jones gave you street cred in Nashville is what it sounds like.
yeah, it definitely helped me get in some
Yeah.
doors, just like being schooled on classic country. And
Yeah.
I love that stuff for sure.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too. I still spin some of the old stuff and I just think that, like we got to respect our roots when it comes
big
to that.
time. And like,
Yeah.
yeah, even though my music isn't traditional, like that traditional 90s
Yeah.
country sound, like, but that's what I love. And like, I love talking to people. I'll talk all day about like Garth Brooks and Joe Diffie and like the 90s country stuff because that's
Yeah.
my wheelhouse too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Right on. Okay, so look at you've mentioned some big names there, but you've had your own early success. Your first single, All Over It, hits iTunes Canada country charts and it finds itself at number one.
yeah,
You must have gone through a bunch of emotions like disbelief, denial, shock, excitement.
yeah.
How long before that wears off? And when it does, how do you process that success?
Yeah, that was like crazy for me because I didn't know what like releasing music was like what was gonna happen. And that happened. Everyone's like hitting me up and they're like, wow, like congrats. And I was like, and everyone's talking about it. And I'm like, okay, like I'm brand new. I didn't have like a manager, I didn't have any experience. Like I didn't know what was going on. I just put it out myself for fun on
Oh,
Spotify and
wow.
Apple and stuff. And then it just blew up and I was like, okay, here we go. So it was a bit overwhelming. Like it was like, yeah, it was like, yeah, shock and everything. And then like the next day, Cavendish Beach Music Festival, which is the festival I played. But the first time I played it, they called me the next day. They were like, "Hey, do you want to play this year?" Which is like the festival I always went to party in the campground. So I was like, they're calling me to ask me to go play. This is really cool. Um, but it was just there's so much stuff going on. It was really cool. But I definitely attribute that to small town support because like I had like the word the word of mouth is a powerful word.
Now, who was more excited, you or your sister? Because I hear she's a big supporter of your music.
Yeah, yeah, definitely both of them for sure. My sister
Yeah.
definitely is too. But yeah, I was actually home in PEI actually. I released it on January 4th, 2019, and I was home on the island. And yeah, I was literally in like the the upstairs guest room at my mom and dad's. And then that song dropped and was like, what? I woke my family up. I was like, what is going on right now? And we had a little party at the house and it was really cool. So I'll never
Now,
forget.
is your sister responsible for the over 50,000 monthly listeners that you have
Yeah,
online
yeah,
too, or
definitely spreading it with the friends. Actually, I have two
yeah?
sisters, and they're both definitely always sharing it around. And my one sister, I have a niece and nephew too, and they're two of those 50,000 because they love turning up my music, which is awesome.
Well, I'm included in that group too, Ben. Um, so look, congrats on that, and then congrats on releasing your debut album in late 2023 called "That Was Then, This Is Now." You also have a track of the same name on the album. What's the significance of choosing that track to be the album title?
Yeah, so actually, there's actually a cool story behind that being the title of this record. So this is back. I was always trying to find a way to record, and again, we go back to All Over It, the first song on the album.
Yeah,
I released that one when I was living in Calgary, working with a producer named Maddie McKay, one of my best friends, one of my champions in the industry, who introduced me to a lot of people. And Maddie and I did 8 songs together. And we were so close to being done with the album. And then when the pandemic hit, we weren't able to finish. I moved back to PEI. So then when I moved to Nashville, I was writing the whole time I was in PEI beforehand. And I was like, I'm ready to record an album. We recorded the album, and I recorded a song called That Was Then, This Is Now. And I was trying to pick which one could be the title. And I was like, what if we do That Was Then, This Is Now? We do side then and side now. So actually, we did 20 songs. We released all the songs on side then that I did with Maddie, because those songs, obviously had huge career impact moments for me when I started. So
yeah,
I want to find a way to like incorporate those, if that makes sense. And like, I was like, I don't want my debut album to not have those songs. So I was like, this is great. There's about 3 or 4 songs that I did with him before I was in Nashville that like I still play it on my live shows because they're like my most popular songs, some of them, right? So I wanted to make sure they were on my debut album. So we packaged it all together. So it's like a double-sided album. So my Calgary side and then all and my whole national record as well.
so your premonitions here, because I was gonna say to you, you have 20 tracks in the album.
Yeah. So that's
That
actually a double album. Yeah.
That's a killer debut album.
Yeah.
Like it's rare you see a debut album with that many tracks. And I was gonna say why so full, but that was then this is now. That makes total sense. Was
Yeah.
there ever any thought to let's just do one that was then and then later this is now or
I don't think so, because we didn't finish the album in Calgary. So we're like, how are we gonna
right,
do this, right? So we just in the end we just went, let's just put it all together, and it worked out. So the All Over It's and the In My Truck Girl, which are like two of my biggest songs, they made it on the record. So
yeah.
yeah, it was a very last minute decision. I called Maddie. I was like, yeah, so I guess you are producing my first record. You're just co-producing it with a different guy, but you got a whole side to yourself. So
That's awesome. Um, was there a lot, so the other parts of it, was there did Nashville influence it a lot, or were you still kind of
yeah,
in from other
feel like
places?
the second half of it was definitely more influenced Nashville, because I was writing it actually Nashville. So it's definitely produced by my dad, producer, produced by Nashville musician. So it's just like, yeah, it was definitely more, side then is definitely all Canadian musicians, and side now is more Nashville, where I'm situated now, and kind of the sound that we're going for.
You know what? I'm a big fan of album journeys. So as we start to peel apart the layers and understand how you've structured it, it makes that even more exciting to re-listen to, right? Because then you
Yeah,
kind of listen for different things and you go, oh, this was done
you
in
can hear
Calgary,
like the
this was done in
different growth.
Nashville.
Yeah, for
Now I
sure.
see the transition, or you feel the transition a little bit more. Look, you've shared the stage with other notable country music stars like Dan and Shay, Clay Walker. You mentioned Sam Hunt. Um, do you change your set depending on who you're playing with at all, or do you just,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
It's definitely depends on, like, when we open for Sawyer Brown or Clay Walker, like,
yeah,
I would go maybe more on my storytelling vibe, or like rowdiness, because there's a lot of like 90s country fans there,
right,
or as when we're open for Sam Hunt, we do maybe more of our like pretty boy country songs, because the girls love Sam Hunt.
yeah,
Yeah, this year I got to tour with Brett Kissel across Canada,
right.
and opening for Brett. I mean, he's Garth Brooks Canada, right? So like I had to be entertaining and get the crowd fired up for him. So we're doing more of our like, anthemic, like get the crowd fired up songs. So it just depends on like more on the definitely on the opener and the city. Like, if I'm playing the East Coast, I'll do more like my song Saltwater Cowboy. Like they love that out
Yeah, of
there, but in
course.
Alberta, I don't know if they'll love it as much. So we just kind of see where we're at with it.
Do you and I know you got to switch it up, you know, you just mentioned environment, location. Do you have a favorite song that you open or close with?
Yeah, I think Saltwater Cowboy is my favorite song to
Yeah.
play of all my stuff, just because it's just who I am and it's a good way to kind of introduce myself to a crowd.
Um, so you got all this going on. You played with these folks, you're releasing music. You released a new single on June 7th, 2024, called Somebody's Summer.
Yep.
Um, what brings us, tell us about that song. What brings it to life? What are we
Yeah.
listening for? What are we doing with it?
Yeah, so where I'm at now with my career is like maybe I tell my buddies a bit more. I'm like, no more pretty boy country, and I just want to be an entertainer. And that's the thing. Also, growing up on an island, like we always, I was a big, Billy Currington, Jake Owen fan,
Yeah,
cruising down the beach in the trucks and blasting those summertime tunes and Kenny Chesney, and I was like, I feel like I'm a born entertainer more than a born singer. That's how
yeah,
I wear it. Tell people like I'm an entertainer, and that's what I love to do. And so I want to like find my niche maybe and zero in. And I'm like, I grew up on an island. I know when I hear a song, it puts me on the beaches on the island in the
yeah.
summertime, or maybe people are in the city and they're driving to work, and it makes them feel like they're on vacation on their way to work. So like that's kind of where I went with it. And when I've been listening through the songs, so it's like trying to pick what songs to record. It's like these are the songs that define summer for me. And then who knows, maybe come September, October, I can disappear and go to a little island and write new songs for the
Eh,
next summer. Who knows, right? But definitely not PEI though, because if Canadians are listening, they know you can't really go on the beaches in the wintertime there.
So look, either you've tuned into the fans or the fans have tuned into you because the song does have some beach elements to it. And some of your fans seem to say that, look, if there's a beach, you want Ben Chase there playing his music. So what do you make of that? Are we going
Yeah,
with
I think that's cool. And like cool
it?
thing for me is like, if you're on a like a boat or on the beach and stuff, it's like that's where I mean country music hits the hardest. And it's like especially if you're like sitting back drinking beer like on a boat with friends or on a beach, it's just like it hits so good there. So I'm gonna try to write stuff that people are gonna want to listen to it there. And you know, the song when yeah, it's just like when I hear those, Summertime by Kenny Chesney, I'm like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
someone pass me a beer, even though I gotta work tomorrow, I don't care. So I don't want to be that guy for those people.
So look, let's talk about beer. You also releasing a brand new single released in the last week of July called Bad Day to Be a Beer. I love
Exactly.
the title. I just love it. Especially if we're crushing a cold one on a hot day. Tell us about the new tune. Are we dancing, singing, drinking, or all of the above?
All the above. The second I heard this song, I was like, this is the song that, you know, 19-year-old Ben would have heard at a festival, camping, at a country festival, and been like, okay, we're turning up today, and would have been like, hand me beers, and started going wild for, or been on a boat and heard and just been like, I want a cool Corona. Like, just like it's that, it was that song that the second I hear, like, second, I was like, okay, this is gonna be the one because this song just literally, yeah, it just makes me want to enjoy the summertime and drink. So like, there's nothing you could really beat there, right?
So we're killing the beer. That's what it's all. We're just killing the beer in that song.
Yeah, the people in the crowd will be for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring maybe bring a funnel out in the road with me this summer
Uh,
and get them going.
your shows are starting to sound even more fun. The producer on that song, is it Denick Dupel?
Yep, correct. Yeah,
Uh,
Danik from the legendary Canadian Emerson Drive, and he
right,
just
like
won CCMA Producer of the Year this year,
right.
so it's really cool to work with him. Yeah.
Yeah, last year's CCMA Record Producer of the Year.
Yep.
Um, what does he bring to your production? Tell us what it was like to work with him.
Yeah, it was a definitely really good change for me, I think. It like not not like my other producers were nothing different, but Danik just really sees the vibe I'm trying to bring out and the fun in the and he, he's been around Bluff for so long and really pushes me to make sure I deliver like a fun vocal and yeah, the musicians and everything he hires, it just all comes together so smoothly. And yeah, I really feel like it just like really helps. He's had so many hits on the radio, so it really makes it sound like it's supposed to be on the radio. So it's great.
When you start working with him, is it kind of like I'm working with Danik, or is it I'm working with Danik? It's all good. It's cool.
If you would have told me 3 years ago, it would have been that way. But luckily, I live in Nashville and I met him and became friends with him for a minute.
There we
So
go. Okay.
now we're buddies, and it makes it actually easier to work because I'm not anxious about going in to see him. But yeah,
Like me, I'd be anxious.
yeah, yeah.
Ben, are we looking at more singles throughout the year then, or
Yep, I will
yeah,
drop one more before the end of the year, just to kind of look back on summer. I want to be the guy soundtrack of summer. It doesn't mean, everyone's got
right
videos in
on,
their phone of summer they'll look back on. So maybe I'll have one to make you help look back and enjoy it. So stay tuned
right
for
on.
that.
Awesome. We're going to look forward to that. Look, I realized when I was going through your schedule that you made it up to my hometown of Sault Ste. Marie.
Yep.
And you mentioned you were touring with Brett Kissel, and you all made a lot of stops on that tour. I wonder, did you get some time to explore the towns and cities in between your performances?
A bit actually. Sault Ste. Marie was really tight because we went from Thunder Bay to Sault Ste.
Oh,
Marie and then I think Sudbury, if I'm right. So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like 7 hours from Thunder Bay to
yeah.
Sault Ste. Marie, 7 hours from Sault Ste. Marie to Sudbury. So it was just like go, go, go. But yeah, I do remember Sault Ste. Marie. The venue is the machine shop. Great people. That was actually, I think that one and the London Music Hall were the two biggest shows in the tour. They were complete sellouts. And there's a festival going on that same weekend, like a community festival.
Yeah.
So it was just absolutely slammed. And yeah, the crowd was awesome there. I really enjoyed it. Hospitality was great. Great venue too. Like, um, the floor was open. Then up, I don't know if you've been in that venue, but like up above,
Which one
there's
was
like
it then?
the machine shop.
Oh, the machine shop. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
And then like
Yeah,
people are up above you looking
yeah.
down too. Yeah, it was really great. And yeah, I really like Sault Ste. Marie. I definitely want to go explore there more though. I'm a big Leafs fan. They have a lot of Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds on or
Yeah.
like a lot of the guys play on the Leafs and stuff. I hear about it. So I'm like, oh, I gotta maybe go explore there more soon. So
Yeah, the machine shop. The crazy thing about the machine shop, it used to be a paper mill.
oh wow, okay.
Yeah, St. Mary. It used to be part of St. Mary's paper, and there
I
was
could
like
see
all
that
the
actually from
industry
like
there.
looking at that building. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
I guess a
awesome.
paper mill is a machine, right?
We'll give a shout out to the folks up in Sault Ste. Marie from Ben Chase on that,
Absolutely.
and we'll let the machine shop know too that you really loved the venue too. Um, You know what? With the new single, and you've got the strong debut album, it's and you're putting out new singles too. How are you approaching touring in the next year or so?
I really want to play in America. I
Yeah,
mean, I've played a lot in Canada, but we're really focusing on trying to find ways to, get on tour in America a little bit.
yeah.
So I mean, I love Canada and being from Canada, but now I'm like, I want to go play some shows in Florida and California and travel and see some new places. I love traveling so much. So if I get to go to some of these places and play in their little beach towns, I'm excited.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned Florida because Paul Maurice, the coach of the Florida Panthers,
Yep.
is actually from Sault Ste. Marie.
Oh, wow. Okay. I knew he was from Ontario, but I didn't
Yeah,
know
he's
Sault Ste.
he's from
Marie.
Sault Ste. Marie. So now
Stanley
we've
Cup
got
champion. Yep.
right, like and you talked about hockey and you
Oh
like
yeah,
the
I'm a
coffee or
diehard
whatever.
hockey fan, big
Right?
time.
So
Yeah.
Ben Chase and Paul Maurice down in Florida, both having come from Canada,
Yeah,
but
hit me up, Paul. Get your people to call my people, and we'll get a beer.
Paul Maurice. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna see if I can connect you
Yeah,
two. I'm
cool.
gonna see if we can make that
I
happen.
wish he would have won it with the Leafs when he coached them, but
Uh,
I guess.
I'm trying to leave the whole Leaf thing behind here. It's a
That's all right.
lot of sensitivities these days around the
Yeah,
Toronto
that's
Maple
right.
Leafs,
Oh, I know.
So
It's a hard life being a fan.
is PEI big Toronto Maple Leaf country or
You got Toronto, Montreal, and Boston
right
mostly
on?
out there. So
Yeah.
like the big original six East Coast, like Eastern teams, right?
Is it like a fighting type of fan base or
Toronto, Montreal, especially,
yeah.
yeah. And then the odd person is just like, oh, I like Boston. I don't want to be like everyone else. But yeah, when Toronto, Montreal play, it's like, yeah.
Look, do you feel any pressure being Canadian when it comes to the music industry in any way?
Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. Like you gotta like it's Keith Urban's from Australia, Shania
Yeah.
Twain obviously from Canada. There's so many, you know, two of the big, the Weekend is like what the biggest streaming artist in the world
Yeah.
is from Canada. Justin Bieber, Drake, like there's lots of people that that broke worldwide that aren't from America. But yeah, I mean, America is the country music's biggest hub in the world. Canada's actually the second biggest. So it's nice we're doing good stuff there, but yeah, it's definitely like people think it's cool that you're from a different country. They all just see like Canada as like another state, but it's like the biggest state they could ever imagine. But like, but yeah, it's cool. It's definitely not a lot of pressure, but like, yeah, people definitely know me as like a Canadian, if that makes sense.
Do you go out of your way sometimes to either say I am Canadian or not say I am Canadian?
People know right away when I'm saying "a" or "bud." How are you? They catch on right away with my accent, and I don't even have that bad of an accent compared to some of my friends, but they definitely
Eh?
hear it right away. Yeah,
Yeah, I got it. Eh? Ben, would you change anything about your music journey so far?
not a thing. It's been fun. I just like going with the flow and seeing where it takes me, and I'm excited to see kind of where these next few years go.
I think we're excited as Canadian, as country music fans for you too. I know we've talked about your songs and album, and I know you have a website at benchasemusic.com. But tell us, where do you want us to pick up your music, and the best place for fans to connect with you?
Best place to connect with me is on the beach because I'm always in the best mood there. But second best place would be social media, and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm the Ben Chase on all platforms. It's easy to remember. But yeah, if you see me on a beach or on an island, come have a drink with me. I'll be happy.
Happy to give autographs, Ben.
Absolutely.
Right on. Ben, look, I'm so grateful that you've taken a break in Music City and right now in Essex, even
Yeah.
to give us this time. Canada is proud to have another exceptional talent representing our country, music roots. We're looking forward to way more Ben Chase. Before we let you go, is there anything that you would like to leave us with?
I just yeah, thanks for having me on. And y'all stick around for the journey. It's gonna be a fun one. And yeah, I guess we're right in the middle of summer right now. So if you haven't added my new songs to your summer playlist, do it now.
Somebody's summer could be
Somebody's
your
summer.
summer if you say, "Count me in" with Canada's saltwater cowboy and get to some good old small town talking. Because when you're true to your roots, it's simply better that some things never change. So let's take our hats off and say goodbye slow because we're already winning when we're listening to Ben Chase, who helps us on our all over it happy nights like this. Ben. Thank you again. We wish you the best and hope to catch up with you real soon. Take
That was
care.
so impressive. Thank you.
Right on.
All right, see you.